Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Rose, and welcome to Bedtime Stories with Get Your Play Online. I'm so happy that you decided to join us this evening. Tonight, I'm reading a book that features one of my favorite characters, and I'd be curious if some of you are familiar with him. If you are familiar with him, let me know. But before we get into reading our book tonight, I want to invite you to get as cozy as you possibly can. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing my very fuzzy blanket and putting it right on my lap. And I have my stuffed animal, my favorite stuffed animal. He's going to help me read tonight. So I invite you to go ahead and grab whatever makes you cozy while we read Pete the Cat and the Bedtime Blues by Kimberly and James D. Pete and the gang had a great day. They'd been at the beach, surf and sun, and tons of fun. But when the sun went down, they didn't want the fun to end. Pete had an idea. I wonder what it could be. Hey, how about a sleepover? More time for tons of fun. Groovy. Pete's place, let's go. It looks like they're going to have a sleepover. The party was far out, but they knew they couldn't stay up all night. The gang decided it was time to say goodnight. On went the pajamas and out went the light. Good night, Gus. Good night, alligator. Good night, Toad. Good night, Pete. Pete was just about to catch some Z's when clap, clap, clap. Who did that? Pete asked. It was me, said Grumpy Toad. I don't want to go to bed. I want to clap instead. Pete covered his head. Oh no. This cool cat needs to go to bed. Good night, Gus. Good night, alligator. Good night, Toad. Good night, Pete. Time to sleep. Pete tried again to catch some Z's when rat-a-tat-tat. Who did that? Pete asked. It was me, said Gus the platypus. I don't want to go to bed. I want to jam instead. Pete covered his head. This cool cat needs to go to bed. Time to sleep. Good night, Gus. Good night, alligator. Good night, Toad. Good night, Pete. Pete closed his eyes to catch some Z's when he heard munch, munch, munch. Pete had a hunch it was alligator. He was always up for eating. What could Pete do? What do you think? All the clapping, rat-a-tat-tatting, and munching was giving him the bedtime blues. Pete had a groovy idea. He got out his favorite bedtime story and started to read, first to himself and then to the gang. Pete noticed it was finally quiet. No more clapping, no more rat-a-tat-tatting, and no more munching. They all settled down. No one made a sound. Pete yawned and turned off the light. Good night, Sleep tight. Time to catch some Z's. Tomorrow was another day for surfing, sun, and tons of fun. The end. So, Pete the cat had kind of a hard time falling asleep. I wonder if that sometimes happens to you, where things are just too loud or you're too excited for the next day. That's happened to me before. But I'm glad that we could take some time to do what Pete did in our story. Take some time to read together, wind down, get cozy, and get ready for another fun day tomorrow. So I thank you for joining me and my teddy bear as we read Pete the Cat and the Bedtime Blues by Kimberly and James D. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, have a great day tomorrow and have a good night.